What is going on, everyone? Welcome into our next draft grades video here for the 2022 NFL draft. Just want to say one more time, I'm not here to basically be NFL Network and tell you how great your team's draft was and paint rainbows and butterflies over every decision every team made this weekend. I'm going to keep it real here. I'm going to tell you what I think about every team's draft based on my own pre-draft evaluations. I understand I'm going to have some misses here, just like your team's general manager is going to have some misses. Every year we get a couple teams that screw up the draft. I'm here to tell you, in my opinion, which teams I think could have walked out of this draft with a lot more, and also to celebrate the teams that had awesome drafts as well. So let's have some fun. Please do hit that like button down below. Really helps me out more than you even know, helps push this video out to other NFL and NFL draft enthusiasts just like you. Also, make sure you subscribe. You can check out all of my draft grades on every team in the league. And you're also not going to want to miss my summer deep dive series where we're going to be going team by team, counting down my power rankings, taking an extended look, previewing every team. Already got some great guests lined up for the series over the summer. Going to be just so fun. So make sure you guys subscribe and let's get into it. Starting with the Houston Texans, who are honestly making a fan out of me. I've kind of hinted at me liking the way that they're going about this rebuild, really this sort of, if you want to be here, we're happy to have you, but if you want to get out of here and go compete right now on a better football team, like, we understand. Like, goodbye, thank you for your time. But they've built this cool culture of, like, hometown guys that have been rejected. You've got, Lovie Smith coming back as the head coach now. Like, I don't know. I'm really finding myself rooting for this Houston Texans team. They have no chance next year, but this draft gets me really excited. They got a ton of players. They got a bunch of really fun fits. Let's get into it. They take Derek Stingley. It was a fun moment for me. I had Derek Stingley as the number one corner in this class and got some pushback when I did that back in February. Really happy to see for him kind of the medicals clear for teams to understand his story of the rough couple of last 2 years at LSU, and fun to see a team gamble on him as the number one corner, as a top 3 pick, to get back to what he was in 2019, where he was one of the best players in all of college football as a freshman at one of the hardest positions to be good in college football and in the NFL as well. So Derek Stingley, a healthy, competitive, feisty Derek Stingley, is the best player in this class. I do believe that, but there were some question marks there for sure. You hope that he has the buy-in here, but honestly, just I think they felt really good about how he fit in with the culture there, and I strangely trust them to get the most out of Derek Stingley. I don't know. I really like this pick. Weird to see a team in rebuild go with a cornerback, but man, they got a damn good one, and going to be fun to see him coached up by Lovie Smith in this defense. So a fun start there. Then they take Kenyon Green. Really hard to complain about this pick. I think he was one of the better offensive linemen in this class, probably for me the 5th best behind Zion Johnson. That said, referring to what I said in the opening dialogue about this team, I do think something I've said about this Texans team before is you have to draft players that want to be here. Not that Zion Johnson wouldn't want to be here. It's just Kenyon Green is a local guy. He's a Texas kid. Sure, I'll stay home and compete and build up a team with this Texans unit. And honestly, Kenyon Green as a bigger guy probably fits their blocking scheme a little bit better as well. So I'm a huge fan of Kenyon Green here. I gave this a B+. This offensive line actually looks pretty good as long as Titus Howard can play pretty well at right tackle. So another good pick there. I thought they had to walk out of the first round here with some good foundational players, and they definitely did that. Then they take Jalen Petrie, which becomes a theme here. Another hometown guy out of Baylor. And Petrie, hyper competitive, scrappy guy, and I can't wait to see him play more actual safety at the next level. He was a slot guy for Baylor. I think for the Texans, he'll play 2 high safety in their cover 2 heavy system. And with his instincts, I think he's going to thrive there. Maybe they use him at slot corner. I doubt it. They have some players that I like in the slot there. So really big fan of Jalen Petrie on this team, in this system, and at this point, early second round, felt like that was about where he should have come off the board, and heck of a player, man. He's one of the more fun watches in this class. Then they grabbed John Mechie out of Alabama. Very good value. Thought he was a second-round player, and he's definitely a scrappy, competitive player that will fit into the culture here. Definitely continuing to build off of that. This dude's an awesome run blocker. Some of his run blocks throughout his college career just get you fired up. But he also fills a need at wide receiver. They need more talent to not just help now, but continue building for the future. Brandon Cooks not getting any younger there, and he gives them something they don't really have right now in a route runner type, a potential X receiver. So very much like that pick, John Mechie out of Alabama. Then they stick with the Nick Saban well and take Christian Harris out of Alabama. And this was another good call by me, I suppose. I had Christian Harris at this very draft pick in my day 2 mock draft. Talked about how in this system, Christian Harris is actually would be one of the higher rated linebackers on the Texans board. So with Lovie Smith there, going back to his Tampa 2 ties, the Texans led the league in cover 2 last year. And that means you need a middle linebacker with really fluid hips and speed that can honestly be a bit of a safety at times, playing that mid-read assignment in cover 2. There's not a lot of linebackers that can handle that, because oftentimes you're gonna end up having to run up the seam with some of the best, fastest receivers in the league. So Christian Harris, who has a lot of flaws, things that you can coach up in his game, things like the anticipation of the run and playing more physical, those are things you hope you can develop in him. It's why he fell to the 3rd round. There's a lot of moments on his tape where you were really underwhelmed by his run defense and his tackling. Hopefully he can buy into the culture here and become more physical in those ways. But in coverage, in cover 2, that again, they led the league in, he is the fastest linebacker in this class to run those types of coverages. And I think he'll thrive at that. All he's got to do is turn his head to the strong side of the field, pick up the first inside threat, and carry him up the seam. And he's going to thrive at that with his athletic ability. So I think it's a really good fit. Then Dameon Pierce out of Florida in the 4th round. Excellent pick. He was a top 5 running back for me. They didn't really have a feature back here, and Dameon Pierce is totally a physical, nasty guy to get behind a now pretty solid offensive line, and he's going to be a 3-down back. You know, put Dameon Pierce pretty high in your rookie dynasty drafts. He's going to be a productive player, not the highest upside player in the world, but man, in the 4th round, totally agree with them picking him here. Then they take Thomas Booker out of Stanford. Very flexible, athletic, smart defensive tackle. And I wasn't overly impressed by his tape, but I do like the way he fits on this defensive line. I think he'll actually play a decent amount of 5 tech for them. They've had some bigger bodied, kind of hybrid defensive end types play more of that edge position on early down. I think that's probably honestly Thomas Booker's strong suit at the next level. Has some quickness and some potential to become a better pass rusher at the next level as well, kind of removed from that academic Stanford environment where he can focus on his pro career. But man, in the 5th round, in a really poor defensive line class, when a lot of these guys had started to come off the board, can totally get behind Thomas Booker here in the 5th round. They take Tegan Quitoriano out of Oregon State, big-bodied backup tight end type with some basketball background, decent blocker, fine with that pick. And then Austin Deculus out of LSU, really experienced guy, was on that national championship offensive line. He'll fit in as a backup that can play 4 positions for them. Someone I don't see with a lot of upside, but fine with this pick, late 2nd round, given everything else they did. So I really love this draft for the Houston Texans. I give this draft a straight up A. I look back at this and say, there's not really a single pick that I would change. And I think they got some really good players. They're starting to build up a core of talent here in Houston that has been missing. Gotta love it. So an A for the Houston Texans. And positivity, definitely something Texans Nation has been waiting for a long time. So me, as a newfound Texans fan, let's get like 4 wins next year. That'd be great. All right, the Indianapolis Colts, who obviously did not have a 1st round pick from the Carson Wentz trade, I thought also had a slam dunk draft. And it started off with Alec Pierce in the second round. Really made a lot of sense. I think just any receiver really upgrading that room is a win for them. I thought maybe a slot guy was a little bit of a better fit, but can't complain about getting Alec Pierce, a true second round value. He will start for me on the outside opposite of Michael Pittman and will be a really nice fit with this offense who needed more playmakers. So a good start there. They take Jelani Woods in the third round. Really fun spot for him. A team that uses a lot of big tight end packages. They lost Jack Doyle here. They needed another big body tight end to come in here. And Woods he's such a fascinating prospect. His dimensions are ridiculous. He's 6'7", 260 pounds, really good top speed, just like we saw at the combine. A really stiff player, but I think he can handle all the blocking responsibilities day one. He's going to give Matt Ryan an awesome red zone target and allow this team to stay in 12 personnel, really lean into Jonathan Taylor being one of the best running backs in the NFL next year, and an awesome impact playmaker for them that I think his pro career is going to be better than his college career was. My high-end comp for him is Martellus Bennett, with just ridiculous proportions and a big body over the middle of the field that teams just don't really know what to do with a lot of the times. Then they take Bernard Raymond 4 picks later. This is the best pick they made. Man, I really thought there was a chance he could have snuck into the end of the first round. Definitely thought top 50. There were a lot of teams that were going to have their eye on Bernard Raymond. And to get him here in the third round, he can stay at left tackle. This is a brilliant pick. For the Colts, we said their biggest problem right now is receiver and tackle, and 2 of their top 3 picks were excellent values at those position groups. So really hard to fault that. He's going to have some learning curves. He's still very much in development. He's only been playing tackle for a couple of years after coming over from Austria and started at tight end at Central Michigan, gained a lot of weight, but got better year after year after year, game after game at Central Michigan. And on this offensive line, right next to Quentin Nelson, man, he's going to work out. I feel very good about that. So Colts fans got to be very excited to get Bernard Raymond in the third. And then I love this move. They give up a future third-round pick to come get Nick Cross. And you don't see this too often, but really fascinating strategy here from the Colts that haven't always been the aggressive type, but they look at their team and say, well, we got a solid safety duo right now, but Khari Willis, our strong safety right now, is a fine player, but impending free agent after this year. We want a replacement for that player. So they see Nick Cross on the board as a 21-year-old rookie who just really needs to be coached up and brought along, just doesn't fully know what he's looking at yet at that safety position, but athletic testing off the charts. This guy has size, speed, quickness, everything you could possibly look for. He is a souped up version of Khari Willis in this team's system. And I think they said, look, he's not going to start for us this year, but that's fine. We have, if Nick Cross takes a year to develop in our system, he would be about a second round or better evaluation with what we think he'll be in a year next year. So let's take our third round next year, start the Nick Cross development now, and he'll plug right in as our strong safety of the future. I'm a big fan of that move. And there wasn't a lot of great safeties left after Nick Cross. Really big drop off after that. So huge fan of that move. Gave that an A, 4 straight A grades. And then Eric Johnson in the 5th out of Missouri State. Really lumped this together with Curtis Brooks, who I didn't get around to evaluating, but an athletic, undersized, 3 technique out of Cincinnati. Eric Johnson out of Missouri State. I did like as a 5th, 6th round grade here. So 2 just kind of dart throws at athleticism as backup 3 techniques, guys that you hope can develop and become a part of a rotation there. So solid process there. Also didn't get around to Andrew Ogletree out of Youngstown State. Gave that pick a C just because I didn't get around to evaluating him in a really deep year where you've got super seniors across the board thanks to the COVID year. So it was just impossible to get 800 players evaluated. Didn't quite get around to him, but we'll see what he can do at the next level. Same thing goes for Rodney Thomas out of Yale. So I do give this draft an A. I think given what they had, you couldn't have walked out with a much better draft here. You get an impact starter at wide receiver and a deep threat. You get Jelani Woods, who's an outstanding kind of number 2, number 1 tight end for them. Bernard Raymond, one of the steals of the draft, and Nick Cross. I mean, if you put this together and gave it to a Colts fan before the draft and said, this is what you're going to get, every single Colts fan, I imagine, would be excited about it. So, excellent draft for Chris Ballard and the guys. Okay, the Jacksonville Jaguars, where we're going to have to change our tone a little bit. Back-to-back A drafts. I'll save the grade for later, but this was a rough one, man. The clown emojis on Twitter, the fire Trent Baalke folks. I've understood why people don't like Trent Baalke, but it really wasn't until this draft where I felt like changing my own Twitter avatar to a clown emoji. I mean, holy crap, this draft sucks. This is one of the worst drafts you'll ever see, in my opinion. A caveat here is you have Trevor Lawrence in year 2, and you're already talking about a team that justified $20 million for Christian Kirk to be your number 1 wide receiver, and they get Evan Ingram, Zay Jones, some decent playmakers, but let's not act like they got Trevor Lawrence everything he needs to take the step he needs in year 2. They got some nice weapons. They overpaid for them. That doesn't mean you have to just stop, or you can just stop looking at offense altogether. That to me was inexcusable here. This was almost an all defensive draft. And then you talk about getting value, picking the right players, and picking players at valuable positions. They failed at that too. So it started off with Travon Walker at number 1. And the only reason this is a D and not an F is there's a chance, there's a world where Travon Walker does develop into a player that was worth the number 1 pick. This guy is a freak of an athlete. You know who else is a freak of an athlete? Kayvon Thibodeaux. And Kayvon Thibodeaux actually knows how to rush the passer right now. He actually has a first step. He actually can land his arms consistently and package it together with that first step to generate a bull rush. He actually has bend around the corner. I know Travon Walker ran a good 3-cone, but he didn't show bend on tape like Kayvon Thibodeaux did. He's a complete, utter project. He has no idea how to rush the passer right now, and it's not his fault. I recognize that, Jags fans. He at Georgia was asked to stand straight up, use his ridiculously long, strong arms, and just play contain rush and defend the run. And that's not Travon Walker's fault, but you're projecting so much here from a team that has done a horrible job of draft and develop. Look no further than the last edge they drafted, Kayvon Thibodeaux. So this could work. That's why it's a D. The process of this pick is an absolute colossal failure, one of the worst first-round picks you'll ever see from a process perspective. I think he'll be a decent player, but I think Kayvon Thibodeaux, I think Aiden Hutchinson are going to be much better players. Hell, I think George Karlaftis has a better chance of being a better player than Travon Walker. So this pick sucked for me. I tweeted a week ago that I would rather them go Garrett Wilson than take Travon Walker number 1 overall. I got a lot of heat for suggesting that I would be thinking about Garrett Wilson with the number 1 pick. Jags fans, let me know. Would you rather have Garrett Wilson than Travon Walker? Because it's not even a close competition for me. I would trade Travon Walker for Garrett Wilson for the Jets immediately if I could, if I took over as the GM for the Jags tomorrow. And I don't think the Jets would accept that pick. So, yeah, I don't get it why he went number 1. He has theoretical upside in the same way that, say, Odafe Owe did last year, or, Daniil Hunter did, who was a 3rd-round pick, or Josh Sweat did as a 3rd-round pick, but also in the same way that Boye Mafe did as a 2nd-round pick. Yes, he's a good athlete. This is a dramatic overreaction to the pre-draft process and a workout. So I pray he proves me wrong and he becomes Myles Garrett. And I can sit here and say, I was wrong. Good job, Jacksonville. This is why I'm a YouTuber and you're an NFL GM. Good work. Good for you. I would bet against it. Then we have Devin Lloyd with the 27th pick. Another process that I just can't get behind. In theory, this is a good spot for Devin Lloyd. I'm not going to shred this pick. I think it's an average pick. Would I have traded up from the first pick in the second round to take Devin Lloyd when I know I need to get Trevor Lawrence some more help? Absolutely not. Not after you've already kind of made some questionable decisions with your linebacker room. You gave a ton of money to Foyesett Oluokun, and then you cut Miles Jack when you had plenty of money to pay Miles Jack. And now you're trading up to get another linebacker when you could have just kept Miles Jack around, who the Pittsburgh Steelers signed. They have a pretty good eye for that position. So it's already like you're giving up too much to trade up for a linebacker. Now, Devin Lloyd's really good. I think 27th is a perfectly fine spot for him. He's going to be a leader for that defense, and they will be a better defense because of having him. So I'm not going to shred the pick, but it's already getting a little weird where you're over-investing in linebacker and you're not helping your rookie quarterback, who was way worse than everybody expected for being this golden boy quarterback that you walked into last year. Okay, then we get to the third round. They take Luke Fortner. I don't hate this pick. I had a fourth round grade on him. I thought there was a lot much better offensive lineman prospects available. I think he's a high-end backup, someone that can contend for starting work, but not someone that's really going to help you a whole lot, and not someone that has a lot of upside, so I don't really get that pick. Then they take Chad Muma. What are we doing here, Trent Baalke? You got Foye Oluokun, you cut Miles Jack, you traded up for Devin Lloyd. A lot of teams, like, if you have one need that you really got to attack, I like the double dip strategy. And I think getting Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma are two really good players, and they're going to walk out of this with really good linebackers. I think both these guys will hit. I'm a big Chad Muma fan. I had him higher ranked than Nakobe Dean heading into the draft. But he's going to be a base down linebacker for you behind Lloyd and Oluokun. Fine, but do something better with this pick. Help out Trevor Lawrence. What's going on here? Then they wait till the fifth round, I think because of the trade up, and you take Snoop Connor, a power back out of Ole Miss. You already have two running backs. Could have maybe gone with a receiver like a Bo Melton or something that could help you here. You take Gregory Jr. and Monteric Brown late in the draft, some cornerback depth. Jr. more of a developmental freak athlete type. Fine with that. Monteric Brown, really smart zone defender. I like Monteric Brown, but it's not saving this team's draft. I'm going to give this grade an F. I know they didn't have any F picks, but this is the draft you're going to have when you got to give Trevor Lawrence everything he needs. Signing Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Evan Ingram and calling it a day is not enough. You could have walked out of this with a George Pickens or a better receiver with I know that's a controversial take, but dude, give me Garrett Wilson with the first pick over Trayvon Walker every day of the week, even if it's unconventional. Man, I would be so pissed if I was a Jags fan. I would have the clown emote on my Twitter saying, what does this draft do for us? We got a linebacker and a developmental edge with all of these picks. That's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. And they're probably going to be picking top 2 or 3 again next year. I just don't see this draft helping their problems. And I'm not even entirely convinced that they're not going to ruin Trevor Lawrence, which is a freaking tragedy if they do. Okay, last draft here, the Tennessee Titans, who also had some decisions, let's just say, to be made during this draft. They did a lot of stuff I like here, but they started off by trading A.J. Brown away for the 18th pick, and they take Treylon Burks. I think in a world where you have to trade away A.J. Brown, this is about as good as you could have done. I think Treylon Burks is almost identical to what A.J. Brown was as a prospect coming out. Almost identical size, identical skill sets, both monsters after the catch. I will not be surprised if Treylon Burks sooner rather than later becomes A.J. Brown. I think that's pretty good process, but could you really not figure out a way to pay A.J. Brown? Like, you're not the Saints or the Packers or the Chiefs or the Bucks where, like, you've had a bunch of really high-paid superstars. They've had some questionable cap decisions. that got them to this point, but it just felt like, figure it out. I think this was an easy cop-out way for the GM to say, well, we can just put Treylon Burks in the A.J. Brown role and we'll be just fine. And ultimately, I think they will be, but you're trading A.J. Brown for Treylon Burks. It's not a good move. No one thinks that's a good move. Even if this was the best alternative to having to get rid of A.J. Brown, but did you have to get rid of A.J. Brown? I'm going to be critical of them for that. Again, they did a good job. Getting Treylon Burks makes a lot of sense. So not going to totally shred it, but you're just not satisfied with that. Ryan Tannehill's not satisfied with that. The coaches, obviously, with Vrabel's reaction to this, was like really bummed about it. It's just kind of a buzzkill. But I do like Treylon Burks. He fits in really well here. Then they go get Roger McCreary, top of the second. I don't necessarily have any picks, any problems with this pick. Really good man corner. I said if he was in a bigger, faster athlete's body, he probably would have been the number one corner off the board. Really outstanding press coverage technique, man technique, just rides guys' hip pockets and fits their system where they love man coverage. And they felt they needed another corner to get in there and play in their dime packages, run man coverage. I don't entirely disagree, but just they do have a crowded room there. I wasn't like ecstatic about this pick. This to me was kind of the definition of an above average pick, decent value, decent need. Some other directions I think maybe they could have gone, but not the end of the world. Then they take Nicholas Petit-Frere out of Ohio State. So I did have a 3rd to a 4th round grade on him. He's a good athlete that could develop well in this system. I don't want to shred this pick either. But, you know, you had Bernard Raymond on the board. You had Zach Tom on the board, Max Mitchell on the board. A lot of tackles that I would have taken by now. And all those guys are excellent fits for their wide zone blocking scheme. So I am going to, you know, stand by my evaluations as we're doing here and say they made a mistake not drafting those other offensive linemen that I think will be better players. I think Petit-Frere could still work out. But to me, this was not the player I think they should have taken at that position. But then they do the really exciting thing here. They grab Malik Willis out of Liberty. It was kind of the love child of the pre-draft process. I had a 2nd round grade on him along with pretty much every quarterback in this class, and he ends up falling into the 3rd here. So the upside of Malik Willis is undeniable. People thought maybe Detroit would take him at number 2. That's kind of the ceiling projection for him. But as I kept trying to say, you know, I made a film breakdown on him. I did a lot of stuff. I was like, there is an undeniable amount of flaws in his game, and he probably needs 1, if not 2 years in development in the right system before you can feel good about him on the football field. And I think the NFL really saw that, and it played out on draft day. But even with me saying that, I think it's stupid that he fell this far. I mean, I think anybody that said he's the next Josh Allen was going over the top, but man, this is a lot of upside to pass up at the quarterback position. And I think he couldn't have gone to a much better spot. By the time he's ready to take over, Treylon Burks should be in place as A.J. Brown's backup. They made a couple more good picks to fill out some more playmakers here for Tennessee. They're working on this offensive line. It's a work in progress, but overall, I love this system. I love the coaching. And I think Malik Willis in a couple of years could be a franchise top 10 quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. Like, that's a miracle to get him in the 3rd round. And you have to be a team in a situation where you have a 34-year-old Ryan Tannehill and the right spot to really bring him along and develop him. There's going to be a lot of people clamoring to get Malik Willis out there. I think it will be 2 years. I think we see 2 more years of Ryan Tannehill, full-on development for Malik Willis, and I can't wait to see him out there with the future version of the Tennessee Titans. I think this draft was 1 step back to take 2 steps forward in the future. So I think that's pretty good process, pretty damn good process for the Titans. But a team that also was probably hoping to be a little bit more competitive this year, you are taking a step back, and maybe it's not the worst thing. I mean, to ask yourself to compete in this conference with Ryan Tannehill as your quarterback against the demigods that everybody else has at quarterback, well, now maybe you have your own demigod to bring to the party in 2 years. So That's definitely fun. Then you get into day 3. They take Hassan Haskins. I had a take about this on the live stream, and Titans fans can come at me for this if they want, but the tape and the stats back this up. Derrick Henry is one of the worst short yardage backs in the entire NFL. He is a slow starter. He's top heavy, and he goes down really easy on like 3rd and 1 and 4th and goal. Derrick Henry's amazing. He's one of the best backs in the NFL, if not the best. But 3rd and 1, he's one of the last backs in the league that I want to give the ball to. But because he's Derrick Henry and he looks like he should be someone you should give the ball to, they do it a lot. And he is freaking miserable at it. A lot of Titans fans will probably back me up on that. So just grab Hassan Haskins, who can do one thing, and that's lower his shoulder and find space to get a first down. He's a one-dimensional back, but you got Derrick Henry. You're fine. You don't need a starter. I actually really like how he fits in as someone to play in those situations. Then they take Chig Okonkwo. How many times in the pre-draft process did I talk about him needing to go to a Shanahan-style system? This is exactly what has happened. I even compared him to Jonnu Smith. So a dream fit. Just go back and watch everything I said about him in my top 10 tight ends video. I'm stoked for Chig Okonkwo. He's going to be an impact H-back for them, a wing tight end, call it. The perfect fit for this system, and I can't wait to see him get out there along with Kyle Phillips. Really nice fit here. They have their 2 receivers, Robert Woods, Treylon Burks. They're gonna live in 12 personnel, but at some point you gotta get to 11 personnel. You gotta run your traditional passing concepts and create some separation and convert 3rd downs. Kyle Phillips is Hunter Renfrow. He's an awesome slot receiver. Insert every stereotype of a really good white slot receiver ever. That's Kyle Phillips. So it's going to be really hard to see him not be an effective 3rd down player for them. And it's good value in the 5th round. I had a 3rd or 4th round grade on him. It reminds me so much of Hunter Renfrow, who I think I also had either a 3rd or a 4th on, was saying, why not take him in the 3rd round? He's an impact slot receiver, and he ended up going in the 6th round, and he's one of the best ones in the league. Very similar with Kyle Phillips here. Just didn't have the spotlight there at UCLA that maybe he deserved. Then they take Theo Jackson, a corner I didn't get to, in the 6th, and Chance Campbell in the 6th as well. I did only have a priority grade on him, but I see what they like in him. If you go back to Jayon Brown and now what they have in David Long, those are guys that had a really good first step and were excellent blitzers. And then they worked off their game. They built up their game around those skills. And I get what they see in Chance Campbell. So I'll give him a better chance here in Tennessee than I would maybe somewhere else. He was one of the better blitzing linebackers in all of college football last year. So overall, I like this draft. I think, the end of day 2, the end of day 3 is really where they got most of their value. You like getting Treylon Burks on this team, but at the cost of A.J. Brown, you have to sit back and say, man, Treylon Burks better work out. Those are big shoes to fill. So I do give this draft a B-. I think this was a good draft with a little bit of loss of value there, with especially trading away A.J. Brown, and I do think they're probably going to regret taking Nicholas Petit-Frere. I think there were much better prospects on the board. But there is your AFC South. We got a couple more divisions to do. Those will be coming out tomorrow, both of the Western divisions. Looking forward to those. I really appreciate you guys for watching. Please do hit that like button. Drop a comment down below what you think of these draft classes, and we'll see you guys for that. Peace out.